This is an A-level math skill. Does come up from time to time. It comes up either in this format, which is cells dividing. That is, I'm trying to think if there is another context for this, but yeah, I mean, it's possible from asking in a different way. But let me take you through it, and I'll try and take you through it in such a way that it will set you up for answering similar questions on another exam. Okay, so here we have the question. Let's just break it down and analyze it as we usually do. So we've got some prokaryotic cells divide, so they're dividing. They're dividing every 30 minutes. A liquid culture contained a starting population of 1.35 times 10 to the 4, so just pulling out all the information. Assuming each cell divides every 30 minutes. Calculate is our command word. How many cells there will be after 3 hours. Assume that no cells die during this time. Okay, well, we need to know a few things here. How many cell divisions are taking place in 3 hours? Now, you might just sort of instantly look at that and say, well, there's 6 divisions. Well, each division is 30 minutes. There's 2 per hour. We have 3 hours. That's 6 divisions. So now, a division, we're going from 1 cell into 2 cells. We're doubling the population. So this is where I'm going to start with the number 2. Because we're doubling, and that's where the 2 comes from. And this is how many times do we double? We double 6 times. So then this goes 2 to the power of the number of divisions. So it's basically, this is our basic equation. But then we have to deal with, if we started with 1 cell, that would basically be what we'd punch into the calculator to get our answer out. We didn't start with that, and it's actually not as complicated as you might seem. Basically, we're just going to multiply this by our starting population, which in this case is, I'm just going to make sure I'm not writing behind my bubble, 3, 5 times by 10 to the power of 4. So let me bring up a calculator and give that a go. Okay, so I'm doing something here on the screen which I do not recommend that you do. I just don't have another way of doing this right now. I recommend that you always perform these calculations, especially this type of calculation, with the calculator that you will use in your real exam. I will not be using the calculator on my Mac on a real exam, but for showing on the screen, I think it's worth it. So let's deal with this first of all, and I'm even going to do some checking during this process just to make sure that I have entered the numbers correctly. So 1.35 times by 10 to the power of 4. I'm just going to hit equals there. So 1.35 times 10 to the 4. Okay, so I have entered that correctly. Entering the numbers is a skill unto itself. And that we're going to multiply by, open brackets, 2 to the power of 6. I'm going to close those brackets, which is 64. I'm going to multiply that together, and then we have this big number. I'm kind of surprised they don't ask us to give an answer in standard form. I mean, representing a number like this, you would generally use standard form, so that'd be 8.64 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just count the number of digits there are after the point. So that would be 8.64 times 10 to the 5. But you could just write out that whole number. It's not asking us to give the full, to give an answer in standard form, so this would be an acceptable answer as well. So the basic principle is what's happening at each step, which is generally going to be a doubling because it's generally going to be talking about divisions. Then we've got raise that to the power of how many times that action happens. And then if you start with a population that started as 1 cell, then that's your answer. And if you had a population that was different from that, then you just multiply what's inside here by the starting population, and you get your answer, which I could write in, which I've kind of forgotten, which is, I think, 8.6464 10 to the 5, I think, but it was the answer that was on the calculator, but I should just do that for completeness.